has ended, and now the counting and recounting begins. And we're not talking about a general election, neither the upcoming by-election. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mukesh Lupinder, and welcome to our live broadcast of the local government junior council elections, the finish line of an 8-day campaigning sprint that began with nominations on October 10th. And just to give you a little historical background, the local government junior council pilot program was initiated back in 2010, starting with only 6 schools. Fast forward to 2023, and 38 schools from throughout the Family Islands, along with Anatole Rogers here in New Providence, are participating. This year's theme, advancing local government through empowerment. Now, before we move on, we go to Grand Bahama for a report.
Exciting opportunity for junior students here on Grand Bahama as they prepare to vote for their local government candidate. 3 students from each grade will be chosen to represent their schools and learn what leadership in politics will look like.
I'm excited, I'm optimistic, and I think I'm ready to win.
I feel amazing because I really want to represent our students and help the school become better for our students and teachers and administration members.
I'm thinking about taking up political science when I go to university next year, and I'm really taking this opportunity to share my goals and aspirations for my school and make it a better community.
I am elated to be a candidate in today's local government election, and I'm an election speaker, and I feel like I can be the voice that represents Jack Hayward Senior High School.
I feel like as a candidate, it could help us with public speaking, raising our voice as young students, and helping us to become good, positive student leaders.
These coordinators at the school expressing that junior local government plays a key part in teaching children what community development is all about.
It is very important that students take part in an initiative like this club because it helps to build leadership. It also helps them to be informed as it relates to issues as it relates to the community and the nation.
We've had students that participated, and they ran for local government in the regular election. We have them where they are now ministers, they are counselors, they're teachers. They do much great things from this small little cog, and they just become great people. It is a movement that I want all my kids to get involved in.
The voting process for local government will take place on Thursday, and these schools are ready to see who will win.
Registered 500 children. They have voter cards, they have counterfoils. They are very excited to bring their voters cards to come tomorrow and vote. We have trained our students in order to do the voting process. So we have 3 stations for them to work, grade 7, 8, and 9. We have POs, APOs, clerks. They are so excited. They're ready to do it.
For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Jolanda Thompson, Everest.
Well, of course, that ahead of today's actual voting process. For more on what's coming out of Grand Bahama, we turn to our Romiko Knowles. Romiko?
Thanks, Mukesh, and good afternoon, Bahamas. We are live on the ground at the Jack Hayward Junior High School in Freeport, Grand Bahama, which is one of the participating schools in the relaunch of this local government junior council elections. And let me tell you what I love about this is it is just like the general elections. Just a few seconds ago, we saw police officials and those from the administrative office coming to grab the ballot boxes. And so it's similar to a general election, and that is what is big about this program. I'm standing by with the Family Island Administrator, Kenwood Cartwright, and that is something that you talked to me about when we last spoke, that this is similar to the general elections.
Let me tell you about how excited these kids are today. It started with police escort bringing the ballot boxes to the 7 participating schools. From there, the presiding officers, the clerks, the coordinators at the schools got together. They examined the ballot boxes, made sure that they removed the contents and that it was empty, showed it around the room, and the processes got started. Later on after that, we had the Minister of Works and Family Island Affairs, Minister Clay Sweden, along with MP Leonardo Roll, who's our parliamentary secretary, permanent secretary, Mr. Neil Campbell, and a whole team of observers from the U.S. Embassy come on the ground, and we visited Jack Hayward Senior and 8 Mile Rock High. Students were very excited. Everyone is participating. The candidates are excited. it's just, I'm blown away by the outcome and the turnout. Right now, everyone is tallying the votes. Everyone is excited. We have students in the background still waiting to see what's happening. My phone is ringing off the hook, and so we're just waiting to see what tallies come in and who's going to be our winners to make up the consults at each of the participating schools.
Absolutely. Excitement is certainly in the air. As we heard, 39 schools throughout the country is taking part, 7 schools rather, in Grand Bahama. And the principal of Jack Hayward Junior High School, Martha Pinn, is also joining me live on the broadcast. It was an exciting day for the school.
Oh, wow, Rumiko. It was really busy but exciting. The students were so well behaved. They were on the lines, ready with their voters card to vote. You know that we have 460 students here, and we had just under 400 students who voted. So I think that was excellent. I think it's a great experience for our students to really learn the process. Even the workers were excited, and they were very serious about the process, might I add. So I think we had an excellent turnout today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Well, that's what's happening on the ground here at Jack Hayward Junior High School. We're going to head over to Mary Staff, the C, where the elections also took place today. Students also nominated who they want to see as their local junior council representative. And so we'll find out, as they mentioned, that the votes are being tallied. And so we'll hear those names in just a few moments. But until then, back to you, Makushla.
Well, thanks, Rumiko. Now joining us in studio are Christine Palacios, head of the Junior Council, and Therese Boodle, second officer in charge of local government. Ladies, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you.
We heard Rumiko reminded us that local government, junior local government, really dates back to 2010. It took a rest in 2019, and now we see it back in 2023. Any challenges bringing it back to this point?
There would have been some changes from 2019. Take, for instance, the electoral process. It's much larger than before. In the past, there would have been mock elections in the school. This year, we are partnering with the Parliamentary Registration Department, who would have facilitated us in an election mimicking the local government election as well as the general election. So you would have heard the administrator in Freeport speak to the police escort with ballot boxes. We wanted to give the students the full experience with an election, from the registration process, which they were a part. They were revising officers, clerks, straight up to election day, where they played the role of presiding officers. They acted as election clerks. They conducted their own elections.
Now, the footage we saw here is a reminder that we don't have to wait every 5 years for a big election, despite the fact that it's on a smaller scale. As you noted, you have a provost marshal involved, you have a returning officer. Speak to expectations, Ms. Boodle-Lang. Let's get you in on the conversation. 38 schools plus the one here in New Providence, Anatole Rogers. Did you ever think that local government, junior local government, would grow to this point?
That is our expectation. And we want to see among our young people empowered and informed young people, and just giving them the opportunity not only to present themselves as leaders and to vie for a position, but to present a platform to their peers, to come up with ideas. And so as it is for it to be piloted in New Providence, it is a new concept, and we're happy that Anatole came on board. And today we saw students effectively executing the electoral process in their school to the level at which we can say they are able to execute in a general election. The presiding officer was clear. They understood their roles, the floor clerk, the register clerk, the stamp clerk. These are all positions that students would have held today. And so we can say expectations are very high for the counselors, as well as for how we would have empowered students in this electoral process.
Now, I know, Ms. Palacios, you have some numbers for us. 38 schools I noted earlier. Give us a breakdown of what islands participated, how many schools on those islands, of course, with the one here in New Providence.
Okay, we had 39 schools participating, one here in New Providence. We have schools on every family island in the Bahamas participating, from Rum Key straight to Inagua, every school. We have a total of 6,403 registered voters throughout the Bahamas in the local government junior council program.
And I understand 501 candidates.
Yes, 501 candidates.
And how are those? Take us through the entire process of becoming a candidate, Ms. Budalang, if you opt to step in here.
Yes.
501 candidates, it seems like a full-scale general election.
Yes. In each school, students had the decision to make. Do I want to come forward as a prospective candidate to run against my peers in this election? And what we saw among the student population, because the administrators were reporting in, were students who were excited, students who executed campaigns, had rallies, presented platforms, ideas that we believe are excellent ideas, and they presented themselves to their peers, listing their attributes, such as organized, a good leader, a good listener, a good peer. So we know that our students are being prepared to take up future leadership roles, especially our young girls and our young men. They're not all into negativity, and so I was excited to see some of those students effectively communicate their platforms as to what their expectations are. And so it's an exciting time, 500 candidates. We're looking to see the outcomes. I know the students are awaiting the results to see who the representatives are going to be for their various consuls. And we know that once they are consulars, we will work with them to ensure that they are effectively engaged in the local governance process.
Well, voting, we can tell you, ended at 3 p.m. So those results may be coming in any time now. But before we go into the results, let's focus a bit more on candidacy. Any prerequisite to become a candidate? Is it that I had to be of a certain age, I had to have certain grades, I had to be involved in certain extracurricular activities, involved in church life, community service, any such criteria, strict guidelines that the candidates had to stick with or meet?
We try our best to mimic the process of a general election. As a nominee for the general election or local government election, subscribers are required. You would have to have, I think it's about five subscribers. The same here in the local government junior council election. In the regular election, you would have to have a declaration form signed by a notary public. In the local government junior council election, you would have had to have a form signed by your principal. So it's more like a character reference from your principal. So those two were basically the requirements for a candidate, in addition to your $5. In the general election, it's $50, and local government junior election is the same thing. So they had to pay $5, and which they would receive if they get 1/6 of their votes. Yes.
Any indication of girls to boys ratio? Ms. Budalang, you made a comment about, girls becoming more leaders, and our political leaders have long said, many parties have said, we need to have more females coming to the fore in the political arena. It's not so easy for females, but that's what they're looking for. CARICOM has said as much. International organizations have said as much. Any idea what the ratio was going into today's election?
can't give you the exact ratios, but I can tell you based on what we have seen in terms of the flyers coming in, the videos, the debates, the females are present and accounted for. They're the more vocal candidates. They're the more aggressive ones going out there getting the votes, even with their campaign strategies. We had a young lady that had her face on cupcakes. You know, we had the majority of flyers and posters you saw were with females. So they are there, they are outspoken, and they're making their presence felt.
Do you think that this time around, well, 2019, just a few years back, but do you feel that this time around the campaigns, it's safe to say, are more creative then? Certainly more innovation injected into possibly winning a seat on the council?
Yes.
Students have been very creative in presenting their platform. They've utilized social media to their advantage. They have prepared their placard, their posters, their messengers. Some of them have produced videos, songs. I saw a candidate today had someone produce an actual song with his name in it. And so we know these types of opportunities lend way to showcase the creativity of our Bahamian students, whom we do not underestimate, because we know our students can rise to the occasion. And so we are happy to be a part of infusing an opportunity in education to engage our students so that they can become active participants in the governance process, which is local government, nearest to the people, impacting the people the most, and really getting from the students, what do you want to see most happen around in your constituency, which is the school? And that's why we want them around the table, showing their ingenuity, showing their creativity, presenting ideas, and it lends way for them being empowered as citizens.
You speak of platforms. Give us some idea of what some of those platforms looking like. And you know, the only thing I keep referring this to is a general election. We're on the cusp of a by-election, but you know, in a general election, we have promises of homes and, you know, grandiose promises of roads being fixed and those kind of things. You know, we keep in mind that this is on a much smaller scale. Much less money to work with, and we are dealing with students. But what were some of those platforms that stood out in your head that were not only innovative, but really and truly some great ideas?
Yeah, I was surprised, really surprised with the platforms the students came up with, even though you said it's a much smaller scale. Their ideas and their dreams for their schools are large. A lot of the students, you would hear them talk about possibly turning their schools into a green school, the environmental issues of the school, beautification, ensuring that proper garbage disposal, stuff like that. There was also some talk about the creating more space in terms of infrastructure. You know, I heard one gentleman promising that he would ensure that that his school would participate here in local government, in the junior Junkanoo this year. So, you know, there's stuff like that, and also basic infrastructure, lunch programs, implementing lunch programs, menus that are currently being offered at the school, you know, stuff like that.
Let me ask you, you've taken us through the process, but once I'm elected, how does that actually work? I'm elected from my peers. Is it that we choose 2, 3 of us? Explain that.
Yes. Each class is your constituents, and they must vote for you. And Palacios has the breakdown of how many, for each school, each grade level is allowed. And so, particularly the higher grades, grade 12, may be allowed 2 candidates to form a 7-member council. So those grade 12 students are actually appealing to their constituents, which is their classmates. And so they have to be strong and convincing. And some schools, it's school-wide. It's school-wide, it's open. but in some of the larger schools is constituents, and so they have to appeal to their voting bloc. And at the end of the day, like Felicius would have said, some of them made very grand promises. But I want you to know, when the program was first implemented in its initial phase, some very, very good projects were accomplished. Acton PS often speak about the fact that in Cat Island, they built a bus shelter. I know for a fact in San Salvador, the students, without a budget, came together with the council and donors and built lunch benches for their schoolmates. So students it's amazing to know that they are part of a school population, and unless you ask them, you don't know what they're thinking about and what matters most to them. And this is an opportunity for them to say, this is what matters most to us. We want to refurbish our basketball court, our library. One school, I believe it was Cat Island, they put air conditioning in one of their buildings because of the sandflies. And so things matter to our children. Their facilities, their surroundings, like you said, green spaces. These are the things that students are thinking about. And as it is, we know they're going to come to the table wanting to accomplish these goals, even though they have to understand limitation and budgeting.
So why not get the advice from those who would be most impacted? At this juncture, we turn to a Zoom from Aklands. Aklands has one school participating, the A. Loftus Roca High School.
Open balloting.
The key, open balloting, I understand.
The whole school has to vote for those candidates.
And how many students are there? We go to the Zoom. How many students are voting in A. Loftus Roca High?
We have 69 registered.
69
students registered, yes, ma'am.
And how did voting go down in A. Loftus Roca High, a school that was just renamed in honor of a former parliamentarian? How was voting down there?
Voting is going, it went well. The students, they was alert, excited. And the principal, we have the principal here, the teachers, them here, and they're ready to get to work.
Now that we're speaking to Administrator Wilma Colbrook from Aklands, also tell us in terms of what are some of the platforms coming out of A. Loftus Roca High down there?
Okay, we'll have the candidates, the winners. The winners tell you about their platforms. We have the chief counselor coming forward to you. Your name.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Damian Rose, a proud 12th grade student of the illustrious A. Loftus Roca High. I am also the chief counselor of the Junior Local Government Council. And I am here to inform you of our plans on creating a better school. Firstly, we like to ensure access to drinkable water via water coolers. Water is a fundamental need, and access to it is limited, especially for those who are less fortunate. By that I mean we have to purchase drinkable water. Secondly, we have the fixing of our court. Just last Saturday, we had a basketball game when an unfortunate incident caused a music teacher to break his ankle. Lastly, I would like to get boards for classes, especially a classroom that is in desperate need of a new board. Thank you, and now to pass this on to my deputy.
That was the chief counselor. Now we will have our deputy tell you about her platform. Domriana Anderson.
Good afternoon. My first plan is to implement a garden on the campus so that the students and I can get more familiarized with agriculture due to the fact that it's one of the topmost industries in the Bahamas. Secondly, I will seek to ensure that more mouses and the software Microsoft Word is insist on more of the computers in the computer lab because I'm a victim of the BGCSE keyboard exam where because there wasn't sufficient mouse and software on the laptop, we have to split into groups of tools where we have to take the exam separate. Lastly, I would like to insist that if we not be off this worker, I will insist that our garden and the computer lab is more organized. Thank you, I'll pass it on to my fellow councilor.
Oh, you just heard from two students there in Akland at A. Loftus Roker High, two unofficial winners, because I understand that the results are still coming in, and of course there will be counting and recounting. Ms. Palacios, your thoughts?
I just want to say congratulations to the unofficial candidates. The official candidates would not be announced until after the recount tomorrow. We, like I would have mentioned before, we're mimicking the local government elections as closely as possible. And based on the population in each school, that's how we determine the amount of councillors. Take, for instance, Aklands. Aklands will have a 5-member council simply because the population is around 72. A school like Anatole Rogers with a population of 1,100 would have a 9-member council. And even the voting process is different. Similar to local government, based on the population of the island, we have 2 districts basically. We have a 3rd scheduled district and we have a 2nd scheduled district. And we're mimicking that process as well in the schools. Whereas in Aklands, you would have the entire student body voting for 5 candidates. In Anatole Rogers, we would have voting by grade levels. So grade 7 will vote for grade 7, grade 8 will vote for grade 8. And making up the 9-member council, you would have where there's 1 student elected from grade 7, 1 from grade 8, 1 from grade 9, 2 from grade 10, 2 from grade 11, and 2 from grade 12. And after the official results have been tallied and the official winners announced, then council will be sworn in. Once they have sworn in, they would then elect from amongst themselves the chief councillor and the deputy chief councillor, and that is mimicking exactly what we do in local government. And then they would convene as the junior local government council for their respective schools.
Well, we're watching live broadcast of local government junior council election. Stay with us.
In 1953, the United States began using a female name for storms. And by 1978, both male and female names were used to identify Northern Pacific storms. This was then adopted in 1979 for storms in the Atlantic Basin. The National Hurricane Center does not control the naming of tropical storms. Instead, there is a strict procedure established by the World Meteorological Organization for Atlantic hurricanes. There is a list of male and female names which are used on a 6-year rotation. The only time that there is a change is if the storm is so deadly or costly that the future use of its name on a different storm would be inappropriate. These are the names of storms for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season: Arlene, Brett, Cindy, Dawn, Emily, Franklin, Gert, Harold, Idalia, Jose, Katia, Lee, Margot, Nigel, Ophelia, Philippe, Rena, Sean, Tammy, Vince, Whitney. This public service announcement was brought to you by the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas in conjunction with the National Emergency Management Agency.
By giving unconditionally, not expecting anything in return, I thought was a wonderful way of showing this love, and I believe that it is love that truly draws people, and so I thought we could cover a lot more people by feeding. Volunteers, you know, they have truly been sold.
My passion is to help, and I thank God for what I can do through the help of Bahamas Feeding Network.
The thought of colon cancer never really crossed my mind until 2019, when a very good friend of mine was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I was shocked. Everybody was shocked because he was a picture of perfect health. He was young, athletic, successful, and full of life. Many of us are still in disbelief. I started to question my own health because if it happened to him, surely it could happen to me. Then came the fear, the anxiety, and everything else in between. Facing your own mortality is very sobering. But for me, I decided right then to have a colonoscopy, and I'm glad I did.
Colon cancer is the third most common cancer diagnosed in Bahamian men and women. Fortunately, almost all colon cancers are preventable. A colonoscopy or some other appropriate form of colon cancer screening is recommended for everyone over the age of 45. During a colonoscopy, we can detect and remove colon polyps that may grow and later become colon cancers. Don't wait until you develop symptoms, such as blood in your stool, abdominal pain, a significant change in your bowel habits, or unintentional weight loss. These may all be indications of a severe problem that requires immediate attention. If you're over the age of 45 or have any of those symptoms, talk to your doctor about the benefits of colon cancer screening today.
Well, what about me? What about you, what? Well, I thirsty too, you know. You want to see all the water out there? Well, why you don't give me your water, and then you go try and drink that salt water? You crazy, eh? I ain't the one talking to a dog, you know. Ain't nobody can drink salt water. Then why you won't give it to me? All dogs need fresh, cool water and sufficient shelter from the sun all year round, especially on the beach and during the hot summer months.
Summers are very hot here in the Bahamas, so please make sure all pets have ample, cool, fresh water in proper containers and sufficient shelter from the sun, even on the beach. And make sure all dog houses and kennels have proper ventilation. Let's make it Bahamian to be humane.
This message has been brought to you by the Bahamas Humane Society and the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
I'm here at the Dixon Hill Lighthouse on Salvador to let you know that marine protected areas make dollars and cents. A well-designed and managed network of protected areas can generate income for nearby communities. From MPA managers to lodges to eco-tours, there is money to be made.
Healthy marine ecosystems help to protect our islands from climate change and other impacts that we cannot control. Healthy coral reefs help to break down fake waves, and mangroves absorb storm surge and help to protect our coastline.
Older and larger fish tend to carry more and healthier eggs than younger fish. Fish replenishment areas will allow fish to grow bigger and ensure that we have more fish now and in the future.
In our replenishment area, fish are free to grow and reproduce. As their populations increase, more fish will spill over into other areas where fishermen can increase their catch and their income.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island, and you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
Be the future with Bahamas Protected.
Diabetic eye disease is caused by changes in the blood vessels of your retina. This disease is the most common cause of vision loss among patients with diabetes and is the leading cause of blindness and visual impairment in working-age adults. Symptoms of diabetic eye disease can include floaters in your vision, blurred vision, fluctuating vision, impaired color vision, or generalized loss of vision. Smoking can quadruple your risk of progression of this disease. Bottom line is, smoking will cause you to go blind faster with diabetes. So quit smoking. Also, for expectant mothers who are diabetic, it is very important that you have your eyes examined during pregnancy, as rapid changes can occur in your eyes during pregnancy. And remember, good eye health is a combined effort between your eye care team, your medical doctors, and you, the patient.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the Public Hospitals Authority in conjunction with the Medical Association of the Bahamas and the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
In 1953, the United States began using a female name for storms. And by 1978, both male and female names were used to identify Northern Pacific storms. This was then adopted in 1979 for storms in the Atlantic Basin. The National Hurricane Center does not control the naming of tropical.
Welcome back to our live broadcast of local government junior council elections. 39 schools participating throughout the Bahamas, 4 of them in Andros. And right now we're going to speak to Island Administrator of Huntley Christie in North Andros, and that's Beverly Larimore. Ms. Larimore, tell us about voting at Huntley Christie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Huntley Christie had a very active election. We had all the students very involved, very curious to know what's going on, very excited. We had 285 voters out of the 311 student body, and we had 22 candidates from the various polling divisions from grades 7 to 12.
Platforms coming out of Huntley Christie. We've heard in an earlier report we played on our station in terms of repairing potholes. Some have dreams of turning their schools into green schools, which is a very ambitious plan, but one good nonetheless. What is Huntley Christie saying?
Huntley Christie is going back to the basics. They want to have a beautification process. They want to go and do projects where they offer lunch to some of their students at least once a week, where there's some students who don't have the availability of having a hot meal for breakfast. So that was one of the platforms. One of the other platforms that they had was changing the cost of the items sold in their tuck shop. They were just saying that how 4 Snapples cost $10 and 2 cookies cost $3. Like, they want to make sure that they're getting the value for what they're spending at their tuck shop. They also want to do benches for their lunch cafeteria. They want to help with their computer labs. So they have more hands-on projects that are relevant.
Huntley Christie in Andros, and Andros has 4 schools participating in today's junior local government elections. Thanks so much, Ms. Larimore. Joining us in studio back here in New Providence, along with Christine Palacios, we have Dominique McCartney-Russell, the Director of Education. Ms. Russell, you just heard about the plans for Huntley Christie, and like Ms. Larimore said, they're going back to basics. We're not talking about a lot of money, but we're talking about things that are desperately needed for students and things that would make an impact nonetheless. Providing a hot meal, and we can only think of a project the Ministry of Education has recently started with its hot breakfast program. Things of this sort. Give us your views on, how does this make you feel to know that, hey, we're not thinking about potholes, or not that those things aren't important, but we're thinking of one another. Yeah. We look to the left and we look to the right, and we see students who are not able to have a hot breakfast. We want to provide that need. Yeah. We know that parents are struggling, and inflation is a burden on all of us. We want to make it less of a burden for our parents. So speak to how that must feel. It must be a good feeling inside to know that our students are thinking that way.
It is a wonderful feeling. When you hear children saying that they want an anti-bullying campaign. Our children are on those campuses 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week if they have the weekend classes. And so they are acutely aware of the challenges. They see their classmates, they see their schoolmates every single day. And so they're in those classrooms, they're on the campuses, they see the issues, they are aware of those issues, and they're the closest to those issues. And so who better to identify the campaigns or the programs that we should focus on than our children? And they're very vocal. And so we are really thankful for this opportunity because it allows for so much the development of their communication skills, the project management skills, being able to put a campaign together and see it to fruition, and come out successful. And those who are not successful still get an opportunity to participate because they are team members. They want the projects to succeed. You can imagine benches on the campus or a green school. We're really excited about that because our children would become environmental stewards, socially responsible for one another, and so that the decisions that they make affect all of us, whether they throw trash on the ground or if they turn on the water and wait until it gets hot before they use it. Those kinds of things, those children, they make us proud.
Well, speaking of students and election day, let's go to some results that have already come in, and one from R.N. Gomez Comprehensive School. We have 31 votes for Essence Brennan, and she's in grade 10. We also have 32 votes for Kyla Knowles, a total of 32 votes for Kyla Knowles in grade 11, 47 votes for Terrence Winder III, 12 votes for Maya Saunders. I'm sorry, Maya Saunders is the 12th grader with 44 votes. And Shavante Mott, 37 votes, and she's the 12th grader as well. And as we understand that the first, depending on the school population, determines how many counselors are elected from that particular school. And R.N. Gomez
is an open balloting school because of its population. So the whole student population had to vote for 5 candidates. They would have a 5-member council.
We also have results in from Mayaguana Comprehensive School, where Stephen McPhee, a 9th grader, got 7 votes. Karina Aragon Sanchez, another 7 votes. The same goes for Shania Moss. She's an 11th grader. And for Justin McPhee, 6 votes. He's an 11th grader. And Ron Baptiste, a 12th grader, 4 votes. Mayaguana Comprehensive School, is that a big school? We see quite a number of people voting in R.N. Gomez compared to Mayaguana, which is only in the single digits.
Yes, Mayaguana Comprehensive School is a very small school. Like I said, this is one of the things that would have changed from the initial program. We wanted to include all Family Island schools because local government is represented in all Family Islands. So in the past, whereas comprehensive schools were not included, we wanted to include all 8 schools and comprehensive schools, which would have given the opportunity for islands such as Rumkey to participate. Islands such as
small as it is.
Yes, as small as it is. The Exuma Keys, take for instance, Farmers Key and Black Point and those smaller schools to participate. So, and in some areas such as Rum Key, we had to create a shadow program where there's only 3 students in the high school there.
Wow.
Yes, so they would actually shadow the senior consul. We would have allowed them to register. We would have allowed them to be exposed to the electoral process. Even though they didn't have an election, they would understand the difference between a contested and an uncontested election, where in a situation there's not sufficient voters.
Right.
That's the category they fell under. So they understood. We walked them through that process so they would get an understanding. And so even though they didn't have an election and there's only 3 of them, they would still serve and shadow the senior consul. So they would still have an opportunity to serve as a consul in their school, looking at the needs of their school.
Well, now we're going to hear from Frances Barr from San Salvador Senior High. Ms. Barr, voting has closed there. Well, voting has closed, period, and we're waiting for the counting and the recounting to tally up. How are things down in San Salvador? San Salvador has, according to our records, 1 school participating, San Salvador Central High.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. San Salvador was very excited about this junior local government council elections. Actually, we finished the majority of the persons on the register by 12 o'clock. So we would have done what we had to do. And we had about 2 persons from grade 12. So because we have open balloting here in San Salvador, excuse me, ma'am?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ms. Barr. I thought you had stopped. You have a few students behind you. I would expect that they're very excited to hear what the results bring for them at San Salvador Central High.
Yes, ma'am. We already have the unofficial results. Unofficially, Genesis Knowles would have gotten 36 points, 36 votes. Aliana Fernando, 32. Tadisha Anderson, 31. Kiana Rule, 25. And Michael Estrón would have gotten 18. So they're very excited and they can't wait to be a part of the change agent here at San Salvador Central High School. And with me, I also have the chief counsel who always give his support. When anything about local government, we have Mr. Renard Storr, and I also have Councilwoman Michelle Storr here to sit in and to watch this process here at San Salvador Central High School and to back the students in their venture to make this high school the best high school in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Ms. Barr, it seems that voting was completed relatively early at San Salvador Central High. Any hiccups getting started? Any challenges throughout the entire process? Because right now it's just a wait and see. We're all just in a wait and see mode.
Yes, ma'am. Everything went as scheduled. No hiccups. The principal, Miss Megan Colbrook, she organized everything beautifully. The students came in an orderly fashion by grades, and we were able to. The students who were elected to serve as the polling clerks, they were able to execute their duties efficiently and effectively.
Well, thanks so much, Ms. Barr from San Salvador Central High. Ms. McCartney, I think you could correct me if I'm wrong. Earlier today, you were traveling to see how the voting process played out at various schools throughout the islands. How was it for you?
I didn't go throughout the islands, but certainly in New Providence. You know, it is so good to see our students learn this process. And let me tell you why that's so important. We have this topic in our curriculum. So students learn in social studies, in civics, about local government. And so this for us is the epitome of teaching at its best, because it allows what we do in the classroom to now play out, to be executed on the world stage, really. our children, it enhances their learning. And so that's why we are so grateful for it, because we wanted to ensure that children get access to more experiential learning, real, authentic, hands-on, with real-world examples. And that's one of the reasons why you will find a lot more of our boys are involved. You know, they are natural-born leaders. They want to make a difference, you know, and while they like being in the classroom, they love being outside of the classroom. And so though the classroom teaches them the theory, outside of the classroom, this is a co-curricular activity, gives them the practice. And so they develop those critical thinking skills, and boys want more experiential learning. And you will see that a number of our young men are involved. They're on the stage, you know, they're selling themselves, and especially they're very popular, but it allows them to learn about governance in a democracy, but to also, of course, offer themselves. And so this is teaching at its best.
Well, right now we're going to toss it to our Romiko Knowles from our Northern Service, who's standing by at Mary Star of the Sea. Romiko?
Thanks, Makishla. Good afternoon once again, Bahamas. We are coming to you live from Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy. If you're just tuning in, 7 schools in Grand Bahama are participating in this year's local government junior council elections. And we are at Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy, which is one of those participating schools where we understand some 100 or 140 plus persons or students registered to vote. I'm standing by with the principal, Chanel Johnson, who is also the prime minister in this sense of this school, because this is the community. Tell us, how was the process today?
The process was executed very seamlessly. The students were very excited to cast their votes, and they did so without any interruptions, and we are so pleased with the way the elections ran today.
Absolutely, and we understand that there was also some campaigning happening throughout this week. What was that like for the students?
The campaigning was very good for our students. They got an opportunity to know their candidates a little bit better outside of the classroom and outside of the friendship. So our candidates did an intensive campaign for the votes from their constituents, and we were happy with the way the process went.
All right, sounds good. I'm also here with Veronique, who is one of the coordinators of this local government junior council elections here at Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy. And we were talking earlier about the process, which you talked about, the campaign, but one of the things you were excited about was that the students were getting an opportunity to see how general elections are.
More importantly, yes. And I think in staying with the government's mandate for succession, I'd say, based on what our administrative assistant said, we were a well-oiled machine. So I would say that our children studied, learned, understood, and executed the process of a general election very well, actually. And they are now in the wrap-up session. Ms. Gibson might be able to tell me if they're done, but yes. But they were excited. They asked questions throughout if they weren't sure, so they wanted to make sure that they were accurate in what they were doing, and that to me says a lot for our students, and the fact that they are interested in the process itself and getting it right.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the things officials wanted to make sure happened during these elections, is that the students have an opportunity to understand what it is like and get the feel of what a general election is like, and be able to foster the next community of leaders.
Yes. Some of them didn't understand that they had to stay put for the entire process. But once they were made aware, they complied, and quite willingly. So I'd say, yes, they did get a good hands-on and a good introduction to what elections are.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Well, that's what's happening here at Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy. We also understand that the unofficial votes or the unofficial scores and results are in, but they will not release that until tomorrow morning at 10:30 during the school's assembly. And so we'll be tuning in for that. She said it's too close. So we're going to wait for that. But until then, back to you in studio, Makashla.
Well, thanks, Ramiko. Ladies, we heard the word studied and understood, so a lot of hours, a lot of investment went into this on the part of the students, so it's much more than a popularity contest for them. Is it a safe presumption that this will we can only expect greater voter participation from this, and even more so, a more informed electorate in our future general elections?
And certainly that is the expectation. You know, this program allows for the development of those critical thinking skills, and that is important to make informed decisions. And so our candidates, as well as the electorate, they are able to review the campaign promises and really see what can those prospective candidates do.
Realistically.
And so, yes, realistically. And so, and like I said, our children know what the issues are, and they know exactly what can be done.
Yes.
They know the limitation in terms of the budget, and so they are able to, and positively, and I have to say that the campaigns were so positive. You know, and so after this, you will see them working together. And I believe that at the end of the day, we will definitely have a greater turnout for elections, and we're excited about it.
You speak of project management skills and a whole other attributes, a lot of other attributes. What do you think what is the Ministry of Education actually looking to better improve the curriculum in this vein, added features? I know this is whole revamped since 2019. You have a returning officer.
Yes.
The whole thing plays out like a general election with a provost marshal. Where do you see other features being added as we go along?
This actually serves as a prototype, a framework per se, or a model for how learning should take place. And so for us, we have been entrenched in ensuring curriculum reform, and our officers are engaged in how do we provide more experiential training or opportunities for our children. And so this is the model that we are seeking to utilize, because it allows for the in-class training, and then of course the simulation exercise that our children are engaged in, that of course provides the real-world example. And so we want all of our training to be that way. We find that when it's done this way, transfer of training is guaranteed. Our children learn so much, and they become better practitioners, and of course, better citizens as a result of it. They learn, and that's what we want. We want more of our children to have access to quality educational opportunities. And like I said, this is the model we propose to use.
And it all goes back to a mantra the Ministry of Education has as well, in terms of when you do it both theory and practical, then you better ensure that no child is left behind as well. We now go to LaShanta Fowler in Mangrove Key. She joins us via Zoom. LaShanta, any hiccups during the voting process down there? Any challenges? Did things go as expected? Did they start as expected?
We had no hiccups at all. Everything went well. We had 74 on the register, and 86 of our voters came out and they voted. We had 6 candidates, and we had to elect 5 of them. Unofficially, I have 2 of the winners here, Miss Prania Moxie and Miss Shania Major. But everything went well in Mangrove Key, Andros.
Ms. Fowler, I understand you're a former coordinator. Give us your views on how junior local government has evolved since 2010, 2019, when it stopped, to now.
Well, much of the program that was intact is still intact. But of course, the evolution came when we went big with the returning officer. We actually have the inclusion now of the parliamentary registration department. We didn't have that, and they made a huge difference, because back then all of the cards had to be printed at our office, but with parliamentary registration getting involved, we were able to do it on a bigger scale. So that was definitely an upgrade.
Well, thanks so much once again. That was Miss Fowler, LaShanta Fowler from Mangrove Key, Andros, joining us via Zoom. Ladies, local government really and truly is a family island thing. We've heard of plans to introduce it into New Providence. What do you say then to those who argue why even, and I know it's just a pilot program, testing the waters, why even introduce it in schools when the real program has not even been introduced in New Providence as yet?
You know, with the program, our main objective is to create future leaders. So the program exposes students to leadership. It starts out in the schools. So it's not necessarily where they would end up being a local government candidate. They may end up being a member of parliament vying for candidacy in the general election. We expose, the program exposes students to leadership in every aspect. One of the new components of this program is budgeting. We were giving students funding. So even in terms of them having funding, knowing what to use it for, identifying projects, going through that process, it teaches them accountability and responsibility. So that's a part of local government, and that's something that can be used generally.
I understand that, well, Anatole Rogers has been used as the pilot program. Why Anatole Rogers? And was there any plan to actually increase the number of schools you would hope to participate in junior local government?
Well, I certainly was trying to get more schools in, but Anatole is our largest high school in New Providence, and so we felt that, you know, that school was the best, yes, the best test from grade 7 to 12. A whole lot of children, over 1,100 of them. And you know, who knows? One of them may be the person who decides to say, listen, we need local government in New Providence. And so this is the good way to start them thinking, training them so they are prepared in advance. And so you don't have the cart before the horse. You actually have, you know, the horse first.
Even though it's not here in New Providence, it's still a part of education's curriculum. So they're learning about local government here in New Providence, but they're actually getting an opportunity to experience what they're learning.
Well, at this juncture, we'll take a break. You're watching, again, live coverage of Local Government Junior Council. Stay with us.
In 1953, the United States began using a female name for storms. And by 1978, both male and female names were used to identify Northern Pacific storms. This was then adopted in 1979 for storms in the Atlantic Basin. The National Hurricane Center does not control the naming of tropical storms. Instead, there is a strict procedure established by the World Meteorological Organization for Atlantic hurricanes. There is a list of male and female names which are used on a 6-year rotation. The only time that there is a change is if the storm is so deadly or costly that the future use of its name on a different storm would be inappropriate. These are the names of storms for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season: Arlene, Brett, Cindy, Dawn, Emily, Franklin, Gert, Harold, Idalia, Jose, Katia, Lee, Margot, Nigel, Ophelia, Philippe, Rena, Sean, Tammy, Vince, Whitney. This public service announcement was brought to you by the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas in conjunction with the National Emergency Management Agency.
here at the Dixon Hill Lighthouse on San Salvador to let you know that marine protected areas make dollars and cents. A well-designed and managed network of protected areas can generate income for nearby communities. From MPA managers to lodges to eco-tours, there is money to be made.
Healthy marine ecosystems help to protect our islands from climate change and other impacts that we cannot control. Healthy coral reefs help to break down fake waves, and mangroves absorb storm surge and help to protect our coastline.
Older and larger fish tend to carry more and healthier eggs than younger fish. Fish replenishment areas will allow fish to grow bigger and ensure that we have more fish now and in the future.
In a replenishment area, fish are free to grow and reproduce. As their populations increase, more fish will spill over into other areas where fishermen can increase their catch and their income.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island, and you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
See the future with Bahamas Protected.
Welcome back to our live coverage of Local Government Junior Council. And again, we're joined by Education Director Dominique McCartney-Russell, as well as Christine Palacios, head of the Junior Council. Ladies, 39 schools, of course, one here in New Providence, but very few of those schools, I think only 3, are private schools. Yes. Why is that? And what's being done to bring more private schools into the mix?
We initially, when we would have started the conversation about the relaunch, we would have had several stakeholders meetings where we would have invited all of the education boards here in New Providence. And we would have also met with schools in Grand Bahama. So through all of that, we would have gotten the support of 3 private schools, all of which are on the Family Islands. We have Grand Bahama Academy, which is a 7-day Adventist school in Grand Bahama. And then we have Mary Star of the Sea, which is a Catholic school. And we have St. Andros Anglican High School in Exuma, and also Exuma Christian Academy.
Any plans to bring on more schools? And is there a cap on how many private schools, that is, you would like to participate? And how are those talks going in terms of getting positive feedback to make that happen?
I think in the future, we would definitely have more private schools. There's not a cap. We don't have a cap on the amount of schools. Participation in a program really depends on the involvement of the coordinators or the school itself. I can't say why we don't have more involvement, but the invitation was extended, and we're happy for those who would have come on board in terms of with the private schools. And like I said, we would have had stakeholders meetings from the initial inception, and Ms. Russell, Ministry of Education has always been there step by step with what it is that we were planning.
And we believe that more will come on board. If you see the campaigns that are on Facebook,
yes.
Our children are connected on Facebook and all of the other social media, and so I know those students in private schools are going to say to their teachers, listen, we have to participate. Yes. We have some issues at school.
Yes, and we need to get these things
yes.
right. Yes. Well, right now we're going to go to Central Eleuthera High School, Central Eleuthera, really, where the administrator is Rochelle Anderson. Is Anderson? 365 students, we understand, voting. 5 schools, one per grade that is, for grades 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 2 for 10, 11, and 12. Give us an overall view of how things went.
Things went well here. We had an awesome time here at Central Eleuthera High School. The students were, they were energized. They were excited. The energy here was bursting. We had so much in terms of the campaigning. We had a rally day on Monday, and I've never seen rallies where the students did the rally. It was really interesting. I got paraphernalia that I can use, and it was really good. Very excited. So Central Eleuthera High is here in Palmetto Point, Eleuthera, which is in the Central District. We would have had 2 parties that were formed, and then we had some independent candidates. And all the students, like I would have said to them, they are all winners. Any day that you go about, you can get some new information, you're learning, there's growth, that's empowerment, and I believe in empowerment. The students here did an excellent job. Standing behind me would be some of the candidates. I think the chair here, and I'm learning the chair. I'm fairly new to the island, but I'm learning the chair, so they're going to help me with that chair. Two claps for Central.
Well, Ms. Anderson, I could hear the excitement in your voice. You spoke of rallies and parties being formed. That's the first we're hearing it on this broadcast. So give us a better idea of how those rallies went, what form they took, and the parties that were formed.
Well, we have 2 parties. One was the youth STEM, and so can I borrow one of these? I think we had, for the youth STEM, what they did was they would have had a candidate for each of the grade levels. And so you had 1 for grade 7, 1 for grade 8, grade 9, and then you had 2 for the grade 10, 11, and 12. And so what has happened as a result, unofficially, we have 5 members that emerged from this particular group that would have made it as unofficial winners. 5. The other party would be SLM, Sentinel Leadership Movement. Again, would have had 3 or 4 persons from that. 3 from that group and then 1 independent. Okay, so we had 2 parties here. What I want the general public to understand and realize is that our young people, they are watching us. They are being mentored by us. And so whatever it is that we're doing, they are feeding off of that. And so even with the parties, they understood. No one told them. When I came in, I think it was for nomination day, I realized they said administrator, actually they call me Ms. A. Ms. A, we have a party, we formed the parties. Then I came here on Monday for the rally, and the rallies were, cotton candies and smoke machine, and the music was Music Kid. The rally was rallying, and the water was cool.
Ms. Anderson, it sounds like you're having a full-scale general election down in Eleuthera, and a lot is riding on Eleuthera, I would think. That's where the Minister of Local Government is from. That's also one of the islands he visited this morning during his tour of islands, tour of schools, actually, participating in local government junior elections. So it seems that no matter what the results, your students are going to come out with smiles beaming across their faces, as is the case today at this moment, right behind you.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
And all the
Thank
best.
you.
Well, ladies, we heard about cotton candies and smoke machines and rallies and parties. Let's speak a bit about the funding and the budgeting that we now understand is an element, a key feature of this local government junior council. Speak to the sponsors and why it was so critical to add that this time around.
Okay. You would have heard me say in the past, we're mimicking the local government process as closely as possible. And each council is given a budget and of funding each year to execute their projects in local government, and we wanted to do the same in the schools. So what we did, we partnered with members of parliament and private corporations in the communities, asking for nothing less than $4,000 for each school. So their operating budget would be $4,000 for each school. And that's not limited to each school, because we have some schools where there are more than one donor or more than one sponsor. Students would have to prepare their budget the same as consul, do expenditure reports the same as regular consuls, be accountable for the funds as regular consuls. So it's a win-win situation for everyone involved, because we now see where things such as maybe there may be a door in the school that needs to be repaired. Instead of that coming out of the school's budget, that can be done by the consul. So every school will have an opportunity to see and experience what it is to identify a problem in their school or their community, which is the school, and go through the steps of fixing that problem. So that is what
it really gives students an opportunity to say, you know, at the end of the day, when I graduate, this is what, this is my work. This is what I contributed to, whether it be in turning the school into a green, pushing for a green space, or erecting benches, or that hot meal program. I was a part of that. And it's always wonderful to make people feel a part of something as young as they may be. At this point, we'll take another break, and when we return, more on Local Government Junior Council.
The Dixon Hill Lighthouse in San Salvador to let you know that marine protected areas make dollars and cents. A well-designed and managed network of protected areas can generate income for nearby communities. From MPA managers to lodges to eco-tours, there is money to be made.
Healthy marine ecosystems help to protect our islands from climate change and other impacts that we cannot control. Healthy coral reefs help to break down big waves, and mangroves absorb storm surge and help to protect our coastline.
Older and larger fish tend to carry more and healthier eggs than younger fish. Fish replenishment areas will allow fish to grow bigger and ensure that we have more fish now and in the future.
In a replenishment area, fish are free to grow and reproduce. As their populations increase, more fish will spill over into other areas where fishermen can increase their catch and their income.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island, and you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
See the future with Bahamas Protected.
The thought of colon cancer never really crossed my mind until 2019, when a very good friend of mine was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I was shocked. Everybody was shocked, because he was a picture of perfect health. He was young, athletic, successful, and full of life. Many of us are still in disbelief. I started to question my own health, because if it happened to him, surely it could happen to me. Then came the fear, the anxiety, and everything else in between. Facing your own mortality is very sobering. But for me, I decided right then to have a colonoscopy, and I'm glad I did.
Colon cancer is the third most common cancer diagnosed in Bahamian men and women. Fortunately, almost all colon cancers are preventable. A colonoscopy or some other appropriate form of colon cancer screening is recommended for everyone over the age of 45. During a colonoscopy, we can detect and remove colon polyps that may grow and later become colon cancers. Don't wait until you develop symptoms, such as blood in your stool, abdominal pain, a significant change in your bowel habits, or unintentional weight loss. These may all be indications of a severe problem that requires immediate attention. If you're over the age of 45 or have any of those symptoms, talk to your doctor about the benefits of colon cancer screening today.
In 1953, the United States began using a female name for storms. And by 1978, both male and female names were used to identify northern Pacific storms. This was then adopted in 1979 for storms in the Atlantic Basin. The National Hurricane Center does not control the naming of tropical storms. Instead, there is a strict procedure.
You're watching live broadcast of local government junior council elections. And right now, we're just waiting on the numbers to come in, and then the counting and the recounting, of course, will take place. We'll go straight to Herman Gilbert in Great Inagua All-Age School. Mr. Gilbert, what can you tell us? The voting process out there.
This afternoon, Ms. Pendup. Last afternoon, Bahamas. It has been an exciting and dynamic day in the lives of the youths here in Great Inagua. We have 13 candidates. They were all excited. We have 64 registered voters who all participated in this historic, I would say, event. By 2:30 this afternoon, all students had already voted. At 3 p.m., polling was closed. We began our count at 3:05. And we have an unofficial count. We have the top 5. We have Ms. Burrows, who got 41 votes. Angel Arnett, 40 votes. Renee McIntosh, 32 votes. Floyd Lightburn Jr., 27 votes. And Omega Cox, 26 votes. They are the unofficial top 5. I would like to thank everybody who have taken part, Madam Principal of the Inagua All-Age School and a team who have worked very hard. Also the police force who have assisted us. We had the chief counselor who was here all day on the ground, and the district council who got involved and pick up any slack and things that needed assistance. Also the administrative office, I would like to thank my clerks who assisted as well. It was good, it was very exciting, and the kids love it. And I think those persons, once we get the official count, they will do extremely well,
thank
in
you so
junior
much.
local government.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert. 13 candidates. Joining me now in a studio is Mr. Neil Campbell, Acting Permanent Secretary in Family Island Affairs in the Ministry of Family Island Affairs. And we have Member of Parliament Leonardo Lightbourne, who also serves as Parlsec in the Ministry of Works and Family Island Affairs. Gentlemen, welcome. I could see the exhaustion on your faces a bit. And I want to tell our viewers that that's because you've been traveling all day throughout schools. I understand you went to Exuma yesterday, who had pre-voting. And you also went to a few schools in Grand Bahama and Eleuthera to now stop here. And of course, the obvious question is how are things looking in Grand Bahama and those schools that you stopped by?
Well,
Mr. Campbell?
First, let me say thank you to Mr. Gilbert, who went moments ago, in that he is a product of local government, having come the ranks himself. He served as a council member, deputy chief councillor, on to chief councillor, and now a family island administrator. So the system indeed works. And we saw a lot of persons in Exuma and Eleuthera, whereas they are second-generation local government practitioners, where either they or their parents or their loved ones who are older than they are would have also served in local government or are presently serving. And going into Exuma yesterday, it was exciting. There was a lot of structure. It seemed as if they read the manual and took it to a different level. It was evident that they had the the family type support, the community support, even from their churches. And the various slogans that they had, one of the slogans with the blow pop.
Don't blow it.
Don't blow it. Let your vote pop.
Yeah.
You know, so
very great.
It went exceptionally well. Even at the other private school, the Exoma Christian Academy where Ms. Burrows is. Also, I mean, well planned, organized. They cooperated at every level. And the interaction between the students in campaigning, it was just decent. They respect each other, and they sort of brought their creative nature out. They didn't compare themselves with others. It just more or less say, this is what I would do. You know me. This is what I'm able to do for you. Not pin it like this, pin it like that, camera like this, camera like that. They made sure that whoever they are or were to the students, they made sure to present that as their mantra. And I really saw them coming to the fore and really displaying who they are as individuals, wanting to represent their community, which is the school.
Mr. Lightbourne, seems like a very seamless process all around, based on what you said, based on what our other guests said, and based on what administrators have said. What do you see, what do you, as Parle Secretary, see as the future of local government? What do you hope to see moving ahead?
Well, I can say truly that local government has a long longevity in terms of years to come. The future is looking bright. We saw a lot of young individuals that were keen and seriousness about what took place today and yesterday, and they're very excited. And we also saw a love of country in most of them. I must say that during the process, a lot of the females were more in the forefront. And so I want to encourage all the young men in our communities and the schools to participate and get more involved in things positive like this in the way future. But we see our women are becoming on the rise, which is good, which is positive to see women in the spotlight. So I would like to applaud all the young women and young men and throughout the entire Bahamas that participated in today's and yesterday's event. It was really touching. It was truly a blessing. And I know my constituency areas, North Andros and the Berry Islands, I know they had a good time. I got all the pictures and the photos. I congratulate all the winners there too in my constituency. So local government at this moment is on the rise. We've always been kind of pushed in the back, but local government is the heartbeat of the Family Islands. I know members of Parliament here in New Providence and folks in New Providence don't understand how local government truly operates and form, but it's the heartbeat and it's the central government in those communities. And so local government, we must continue to support, we must continue to push. But if we're going to develop our Family Islands, local government must be in the forefront. And so I must say that longevity is looking bright.
You speak of local government being the heartbeat of Family Islands. There's been long talk of local government being introduced in New Providence. Do you see that happening soon? I do. Matter of fact, I think the platform at Anatole Rogers today, it's like a streamline for what we want to see throughout the communities. I know folks out there saying, why Anatole Rogers? But it's one of those schools, it was in the gap, it's in the community, it's hard-based, like many others, like Centerville and all those. I'm sure the next local junior government representative, I'm sure more schools will become more engaged. More of the private schools, I know this time around, we had 3 schools engaged privately, 1 in Grand Bahama and 2 mentioned in Exuma. So hopefully that this time around, we have more private schools in New Providence throughout the Family Islands engaged. However, I must say that local government in New Providence, it's been talked about for many years. It's been talked about many other administrations in the past, and we are looking forward in this administration to really set that through. Our minister, Mr. Honorable Clay Sweeting, he has a bright mind. He's aggressive in terms of seeing certain things in fruition, and however, we are working towards that. And today, the platform at Anatole Rogers was definitely something you're going to see in the future and moving through not only in the schools, but into the local communities. Well, that's the final word here on our live broadcast of Local Government Junior Council and Elections. And just a reminder that those are unofficial results that we shared with you today. The official results will come at a later date. We want to thank all our guests today. Leonardo Lightbourne of Parle Sec in the Ministry of Works and Family Island Affairs, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Family Island Affairs, Neil Campbell. We also want to thank the Director of Education, Dominic McCartney Russell, as well as Christine Palacios, and Therese Boodle-Langby. Thank you all for joining us on our live broadcast.
Thank you.
And thank you, our viewers, for watching.
Thank you.